Alex, to say your time as a Rangers player was extraordinary would be an understatement. Signed by the legendary Scot Symon in 1967, the same year Rangers would lose the Cup Winners' Cup final to Bayern Munich. You would play 319 games for Rangers, 33 goals, 25 of which were penalties. Only 6 bookings, which I find is incredible for a defender. 1 red card. You won every domestic trophy multiple times. What did it mean to you to be a Rangers player?
Well, at that time it meant everything. I was actually born in Anderson. The old Daily Record offices used to be in Lansfield Street. So I stayed there till I was 4, and then I moved to Drumchapel. But at the bottom of Lansfield Street in Anderson was the Govan Ferry. Took you across. So my dad and his brothers and his father and his brothers were all Rangers daft. So we used to go to the Rangers sports. Every year there would be 5-a-side within the Rangers sports. So we'd watch that. It was my sort of first going to a game, and then my dad would take me to games. Sometimes he would say, no, you're too wee. I was only a young boy, so I'd get taken, my brother and I would get taken along to Rangers sports. You see the 5-a-side tournament, Rangers, Celtic, Thistle, Thurlanark. And then I got the opportunity to join them. It was a big thing. You know, it came for a young schoolboy wanting to be a player. I worked in shipyards for a year and a half. And my apprenticeship as an apprentice electrician, John Brown's, when they were building the QE2. And I got the opportunity, and I think that's what drove me on. I just looked at the gates and I said, the day I left on the Friday, I says, I won't be back here. And that's what, I was a provisional signing for 4.5 months till my team went out at Scottish Cup. And I joined in January, 2 weeks before the Berwick Rangers.
So John Brown's the Ibrox, where you truly launched your career.
Yeah. It was so.
What was Rangers different as a club like?
Well, it was an institution.
I mean, Scot Symon.
It was an institution. I mean, he called everybody first names, you know, he never nicknames of that. He called Baxter James, always called Jimmy Baxter James, and he would come to the training across the road for Ibrox with a coat on and just his shoes, and watch it with his trilby hat.
Immaculate.
Immaculate. You know, Mr. Simon this, Mr. Simon that. And
did he have a real presence, real authority?
He had a presence, but he had a hard streak. You know, he was a player himself, and he was a hard player. So he had a hard streak, but there was rules. The rule was you couldn't. I was in the reserve team dressing room, which was the away dressing room, and then the home dressing room. Now, you couldn't go into the home dressing room without being invited.
For any reason?
Any reason. You chapped the door, and if nobody answered and said, come in, you didn't go in. You just went away again.
Really?
And they had a table tennis room, and if you were playing table tennis, 2 reserve players are playing table tennis, and you're a first team player and you walk in the room, I just put the bat down and sit at the side and watch your game. That was just so, you know. And they used to make it, used to use the St Enoch's Hotel. So if you were in the first team or the reserves, you were allowed to go on a Saturday evening after the game and get a meal with you and your girlfriend or your wife, no matter. You always had to leave 2 and 6, and it was £0.50 you had to leave as a tip. But if you were in the third team, you couldn't go. And I remember once I was in the reserves, and about 5 of the third team boys were all, because Simon never came near it. But this night he walked in, and 5 of them were sitting eating a meal. You see me on Monday morning. So it was strange like that, and you always had to have collar and tie. In my time, 2 players got sent home. Was Alec Willoughby, who was like a bandbox every day with Alec, was always immaculate. And he got caught, he was at his girlfriend's house and the fog came in, he couldn't drive home, so he had to go the next day with a Polo, and Jim Baxter was the same. He gets sent back, and they used to say, come back when you're properly attired. Now, I believe I'm right, and the boy Basil Bolly were under Walter Smith in Sooners. he did the exact same. He came in with a polo neck and got sent home. The next day he came in, the crew neck top, no tie, sent home again. And the third day, I believe he came in with a morning suit with a top hat and a dicky bow. And all the boys burst out laughing under Walter's regime. But I don't know if it's still that way, but it was for my whole 17 years, collar and tie every morning. Because when Bill Struth was the manager, he had a pal that stayed just round the corner for Ibrox in Copeland Road, and he would sit in there and get a cup of tea in the morning and watch the players coming. And if they didn't have the bowler hat on, they would get told, "You find your." So it was just rules and regulations.
What I find extraordinary with you, Alex, through your time as a Rangers player, the managerial record. You were telling me off camera, the managers in the club's history. What was there? There was only 7, and you played for 5 of them.
Yeah, the day I left Rangers Football Club, there had only been 7 managers in their history, and I had played under 5 of them. Yeah.
Even now, for you to say you played for Scot Symon, you were signed by Scot Symon, how does that make you feel?
Oh, delighted. Actually, I could tell you a funny story. His nephew used to run Bentley garage in Edinburgh, but he's now in California. And I won a raffle ticket at a Rangers function. I came up for Liverpool and was at the Rangers function. And I won a raffle. I won a prize in the raffle, and the prize was a Bentley for a day. So to go there, his name was Scot Symon. And when I went to the showroom in Edinburgh, I said to him, "Do you have any relation? Are you any relation to the Scot Symon?" He says, "That was my grandfather's brother or something. Some relation that way." And I said, "Well, I've won this Bentley." He says, "Well, take your pick." So I got to take my pick, and it was a Friday. I had to collect it. And he said, "Look, we're busy Saturday and Sunday." He says, just return it on Monday. So he gave me it on a Friday to return to Monday. He gave me a petrol card. He says it eats up the petrol a wee bit. Here, take that. So me and my wife we went all over the place. We went to Crumlick's house, Andy Murray's place, for lunch on the Saturday. We went to the place, what's the name of the hotel down by Glasgow Airport?
The Holiday Inn?
No.
Oh, the Mar Hall.
We went there on the Friday night for lunch. We went to Gullen on the Friday afternoon.
You were properly lording it.
I went right all over.
I've got this car, I'm going to maximise it.
But it was fantastic.
I mean, you make your Rangers debut at 19, 1969, would that be the case?
Yeah.
Now, as I say, you won every domestic trophy several times, but within that there was some real disappointments for you, Alec. Now,
Cup Winners' Cup final,
but
major.
Of course, but prior to that was the awful Ibrox disaster, January 1971, Alex.
Yeah.
You were in the main stand that day.
Yeah, well, what happened was I had, the start of the season, August, we played Motherwell in the League Cup at Fir Park, and unfortunately Willie Matheson got injured, and they were deciding who could play left back, and I overheard the coaching staff and the manager speaking about that, and I told them that I could play left back, but I'd never played left back, but I was just a young boy, so I was desperate to play. So I went on and I played all the games up to that day, the Ibrox disaster, and they left me out. And I think it might have been a good thing as far as my family's concerned, because my brother was at the game, and because I wasn't playing, he was with a group of guys, 10 of them, that I'd sold the tickets to. And he left because he was going to a party that night, and he left about 7 minutes before the end of the game, and 3 out of the 10 never come back. And my juvenile manager, Johnny Gardner, who used to take Clydebank strollers for 3 years, I played for Johnny. He unfortunately died. So
there were 66 fans who tragically died that the Alex Rangers Celtic game.
We went to all the funerals. You know, you would go in the morning and the manager would say, "Right, you have to attend these 6 funerals." But you know yourself, you don't know the person. But the minute you go into the environment, my heart went out to him, because you've got a wife that's got 2 young kids, and she's just lost her husband. Where does she go from there? How do you recover from that? And it was heartbreaking. And that's how the Scottish League weren't going to cancel the game. And Waddle told them, you can't. Our players are under so much stress here. I don't think we played for 2 weeks. I think it was a 2-week.
See, even the memory of it now, Alex, does it still affect you thinking about it?
Oh, definitely, because it's so, to go to a football match and you don't come home, you know, and your kids, you know, your kids are waiting. I mean, I know when my boys were so small they could hardly speak, my oldest boy would be, "Daddy, car ball." That was one of the first words he could say. "Daddy's car's away at the football." You know, it's very difficult. And how disruptive to a home life and how people can manage, and it must have been horrendous. I mean, touch wood, I was never involved in the sharp end of it, but how people survived in it was horrendous. And the same with the 96 at Liverpool that went, never come back.
I mean, of course, football did eventually return for the club, as difficult as that was. And remarkably, the Scottish Cup final of the same year, May, you played in the game against Celtic. 120,000 people at that game.
Was that the break-in game? No.
That was the game, of course, that you suffered a broken jaw.
Oh, that was the League Cup final.
I beg your pardon.
Oh, no, sorry, you're right. That was the Scottish Cup
final, yeah.
Yeah.
You suffered a broken jaw during the game and played through it with a broken jaw.
I got it in about 20 minutes. A ball came in from Celtic's right side, and I was defending, and I jumped to head it clear, and the Celtic player sort of put his elbow into my jaw, and I shattered it in 3 places, broke my sinus bone. And to be fair to Rangers, Willie Waddle said to the surgeon, got word to the surgeon, under no circumstances is a mark to be seen on his face. Because it was that bad, the injury. And what they did, they went inside my jaw, inside my gum, and my mouth, and put a balloon and water balloon and did the work from there.
You played through the game. You saw the game through.
I knew it was bad because my face was all over, and I would go to get a throw in, and I could hear people saying, "Oh my, look at his face, look at his face," and I knew something was up because at half time when I come in, I think it was Waddle said, I said, "No, I'm not coming off. I'm okay," and. It allowed me just to sit at Hampden. There was a dressing room, and then you go down the stairs for the toilet facilities and shower facilities. And I just sat at the top of the stairs because it was a bit more air coming in there, the cold air coming in, and I just felt better. But then I had severe concussion as well. But now you wouldn't have got past, you know.
No, I mean you couldn't play the replay defeat to Celtic.
And the Sunday I got the operation. I went to the hospital.
But then the following year, Alex, the 72 Cup Winners' Cup final against Barcelona at the Nou Camp, you're left out for that game. That must have been, or must still rank as one of the biggest disappointments of your football life.
Well, it was, but what happened was...
Momentous triumph for the club.
I was delighted
momentous
for the players. Yeah, I was delighted for the boys, you know. But what happened at the start of the season, I was a fitness fanatic, and the players will tell you. And I went to Gers on holiday, and I was training myself on the beach, and unknown I was running, doing lots of interval running, and I went down a hole and I tore all my ankle ligaments. Now this was just before I went back, so I never really get fit. So I was always playing catch up, and nowadays they would send you a physio to work with me myself to be fit. But then it wasn't, it was just one physio to do the whole team. So you never got personal training, you would be given a list, that's what you have to do out there. So I would try, but never came to my level that I could have come. And to be fair, the team were going great guns to get to the final. So the manager, but the biggest disappointment I felt was, I think they could have told the team earlier, on the day of the game at 4:30, and the game kicks off at 7:30 or something, you get told that you're not part of it. Where I had been part of some of the games, substitute and such like, and to be
So it's told, to kickoff.
And to be told that you're the odd man out, and that's what I was, because the only person that was left out was Ronnie McKinnon, who was injured. Ronnie broke his leg against Sporting Lisbon, and Colin Jackson was injured, so we were out. But
so all the players were there.
Yeah,
and
at the team meeting,
and the team's name.
Yeah.
How difficult was that for you to keep your composure?
Well, it was very difficult because you'd been there so long, and this was the chance. But I was really pleased when they won. You know, you see me in the open top bus going round that. Well, it was a lorry they went round Ibrox in. It was just an open lorry. They drove round Ibrox in. No, I was delighted for the boys because we were all in it together. The group I played with, McCloy and Jardine and Alec McDonald, Tommy McLean, John Gregg, Derek Johnson, we all came to Rangers as just young boys, naive young boys. I mean, I remember when Derek Johnson played in the cup final, League Cup final. John Gregg, unfortunately, he was injured and he had to pull out. It sort of flu. And I think Derek Johnson came in for a couple of days that week to train. We thought he was just a young boy for Dundee training. But then when they mentioned the team on the Friday, right, this is tomorrow's team, Johnson and Johnson, we went, oh, you've named Bud. They went, oh, John, we went, who's that? All the players, honestly, were all, who's that? And Derek scored the goal. Derek Johnson scored the goal that won us the cup.
Even now, when you look back on it, Alex, do you think I could have been a Barca Bear?
I mean, the thing was that my time at Ibrox, I came as a forward and I maybe didn't do myself justice in the sense that going on as a fullback and playing, so they then thought you're a fullback. You know, because if you check the records, I played in every position for Rangers except goalie. I could play right back, I could play left back, I could play central defence, I could play central midfield. I got sometimes man-for-man marking jobs, Tommy Burns, Gordon Strachan. So I get jobs like that, played up front. I would maybe have been better as the second striker or an advanced midfield player because I could kick with both feet and I was a good striker of the ball. I could dribble people.
See, during that period, Alex, how difficult was it being a Rangers player during the era of Jock Stein's European Cup winning 9 in a row Celtic side? How difficult was that? How was the pressure for a Rangers player at that time?
Oh, it was tremendous. I mean,
Rangers won the Cup Winners' Cup, which in itself was momentous. But
when we hadn't won anything for 5 years when we won the League Cup, and I remember we went back to Ibrox, and we got thrown out of Ibrox about 8 o'clock at night. Oh, you've not really won anything. You know, that was Willie Waddle's way. You know, you've not really won anything. You've won the League Cup, right? So we get put out. And we went, one of the boys' houses we went to, wee Alec McDonald was in my car, because I was always the driver, because I don't drink, so I was always like Uber Alec, you know. It was just the sort of camaraderie, but it's the same now. I mean, you don't see players for years and years. Some of the guys, Willie Matheson, unfortunately lost his wife, and I met Willie a couple of years back. I hadn't seen Willie for years and years, and it was just the same. You know, you just have that bond. Peter McCloy, I keep in touch with Willie Johnson and Steenie and me, Alec McDonald, see at the game sometime if I go. But it was just like brothers. It was like your brother, you know. And the thing was, no disrespect, but Celtic under Jock Stein were phenomenal. You know, you look at that team, they had pace, they had good defensive qualities. You know, you had Billy McNeil, aerial power. You had wee John Clark that would clear up, you know, a quiet assassin, John. You know, he would be Davy Hay, Jim Craig, you know, the great Willie Wallace, Bertie Auld, you know, Joe McBride, finishers, you know, Jimmy Johnson, phenomenal.
Listen, it'd be remiss of me not, on a positive note now, to refer to your winning goal against Celtic at Parkhead, 1980, an absolute screamer into the top corner. Not a fluke either, you'll say, Alex.
No, I could hit with both feet, as I said, but it was quite funny because we got told by the Glasgow police in the midweek leading up to the game that we're to temper any celebrations, don't go to the crowd. And Waddle and Willie Waddle and Jock Wallace sat in, and Celtic management had already been told by the police. So they knew and we knew. So when the goal went in, I thought, that's a winner. And then I jumped up and I remembered, but then I thought, oh, better no celebrate.
The thing is, it was, 89th, 90th minute, and it was at the Rangers end as well, wasn't
it? Well, it was, the Rangers end was across to the right, yeah. And it was Willie Johnson that took the throw on. Wee Bud took the throw on, yeah. But no, that was the first time that Rangers had beaten Celtic in the Premier League at Parkhead.
Alec, absolutely wonderful football life. And I'd be delighted for you if somebody did give you a call, because the knowledge you have, the knowledge, expertise could be invaluable for a young up-and-coming coach. But look, it's been fantastic spending the afternoon with you, Alex, and I'm really grateful for your time, honestly.
No problem. The thing is that, as they say, you need a good woman behind the man. My wife has looked after my two boys impeccably. The family life, I was out all the time as a coach, manager, travelling here, there, everywhere, and I knew that everything was correct at home, and that's what drove me, and just my desire to succeed.
Alec, congratulations on an amazing career.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, sir.
Derek, thank you.
Thank you.